All right, so let's talk for a bit about Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, right? So,
Oh,
Ricardo, if you don't mind, I want you to do the synopsis of this, right? So,
right.
I will confess that I did not watch the trailer when it dropped. I know a couple of
Okay, yeah,
people
me neither.
who saw it and they were tearing up because it was just so incredibly emotional, you know what I mean? But just off the premise of it, just a documentary of the life and times of Christopher Reeve. I knew that was going to be emotional, right? But admittedly, I didn't see it because I wanted to go into this one pretty blind, blind enough, right? Um, but yeah, all I know is just it is about Christopher Reeve. What surprised me actually, and I'll talk about this in my review, is that it's not like I wasn't expecting it to be entirely about his time playing Superman, right? You know, in those four Superman films, right? I knew it wasn't going to be entirely about that, right? But actually, even the Superman stuff still feels kind of limited, right? But at the same time, and this is what the show does brilliantly, you see how the icon, or at least the image that is represented, with Christopher Reeve as Superman, you see how that's been reflected in his life, right? Especially after that horse riding incident that left him
Right,
paralyzed. You see, like how
right,
the image of Superman becomes reflected in everything that he does going
right,
forward, and
right.
that is really like the sell of the movie to me. That really caught me by surprise because I thought it was just going to be part about why we still admire him as Superman, but it's not really about that. But that's there as well, right? But I'll talk about that later on. But yeah, Ricardo, well, you say you didn't see the trailer neither, so you could kick
Yeah, no,
things
yeah,
off.
I just I was somewhat aware of it. I don't think I probably watched it and I forgot that I watched it, kind of thing. But yeah, no, this was a nice reflection of Christopher Reeve's career and life. In the same vein as what we got last year with Still, with Michael J. Fox, right? Um, just this really great reminiscent of it, and then a reflection of his personal life with some kind of, well, in this case, well, in Michael J. Fox, it was his debilitating illness, with Parkinson's, if I remember correctly, and but in this case, it's him, with his paralysis, which is paraplegia,
Yeah,
and yeah, that's what they do with this, and what they do is they cut back and forward with Reeve with his struggle with Parkinson's. Sorry, his struggle with paraplegia. Sorry about that. And then his career as Superman and how he, inspires so many people and how that dovetail, right, with respect to the relationship with Hollywood. How he's an inspiration to so many. How his life and his early, especially his early life was kind of tumultuous. His parents wasn't really nice. Particularly, I think I don't know if it was an outright abusive home, but from our guard, it was like somewhat emotionally abusive for him, right? And that's what they kind of did back and forth with this. And this was like pretty good, just like a good narrative story telling this perspective about Superman. And yeah, I think the timing of this is great because it's a straight up DC Studios project. So it's the lead into James Gunn stuff now. And if I remember correctly, Reeves' son is supposed to be in a new movie, right? So it works like that. Like why we love Superman, why Superman is a great character. What makes Superman work? They do a lot of great backstory stuff about like just the lead up to Superman, the film, his casting, his career, and then they show the news and they just keep bouncing back and forth in really simple and clever ways, right? It's not some masterpiece documentary or anything like that, but it's just good, good, talking head conceits about that, and they make it work. Um, and I wasn't as touched as with the Michael J. Fox thing, but I just did such a clever conceit with it. But this one is still pretty good. It was just really well done. It's smart. They use the Superman formula to tell Reeves as quote unquote a real world Superman, and that's why it worked. It's just the inspiration of it. Why does you care about Superman as a character? Why does you care about Reeves as a person and his career as an actor? And how yeah, he literally had his, even after Superman, he literally had like 30, 40 years ahead of his life, easily, right, as an actor. You just still be acting today, yeah, sure, right, showing up in movies or whatever it is, all kind of what ifs we could speculate about him. But no, I thought they just told that story really well in terms of like seeing him as an inspiration, him as family and his family life, and then they do that conceit really, really brilliantly as it is. So yeah, rating, I give it like a good solid 8 out of 10. Just it didn't have me crying or anything like that, but it just was just really solid, like genuinely heartfelt, emotional stuff about Christopher Reeves as an actor and as a personality and as an activist, right? Right, because they focus a lot on him as what doing stuff for paralysis, paraplegia, the potential promises of curing that or sorting that out, um, in any workable sense of time, and he being the person for that. With respect to like whatever potential medical breakthrough, surgery, or whatever it is, he'll be on the cutting edge of that. He'll be spending money on that. He'll be pushing for that. Pushing for the rights of people who have to be wheelchair bound and just general disability disability in general, right? Yeah, and they bounce off and really do a nice heartfelt product with it. Yeah, I strongly recommend this. This was excellent. It's probably gonna make my not top 10 for the year, but make more honorable mentions for the end of the year. This was pretty good.
All right. Well, here's the thing. I agree with you. I would say entirely true with what you said
Yeah.
there, right? Especially what you said with the honorable mention, right? Because yeah, like you, I wasn't like weeping, at the very end,
Right.
though. Even though and forgive me, folks, because I don't know everything, every single detail about Christopher Reeve's life. But yeah, there's a reveal that is made right after his death, though, that really got to me, though, because
Yeah.
I did not know that happened. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, I felt that. I really, really felt
Yeah.
that, right? Wow. But anyway.
I remember he died
Hmm.
during Smallville. I think he got a cameo in Smallville, if I remember correctly.
Oh, I have to look that up. But yes, I do remember that. Yes, he did make a appearance in that. Yes, I just
Right.
can't remember when it was, right?
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think
yeah.
they,
But
they
both
must
him
have
and
done
both,
one of those,
yeah, both
rest
both
in
him
peace
and
kind of
Margot
things.
Kidder. Yeah, both him and Margot Kidder was had cameos in that, and but they make it work in terms of his career, like just to see his early theater career, for example, and like
Yes.
why he was great. I didn't know he was so close to Jeff Daniels. I didn't know that.
I didn't even know he was friends with Robin Williams. I did not
Well, I
know
knew
that.
that.
Okay.
I was aware of that, but I didn't know. I didn't know that he was so close to Jeff Daniels. Because I seen Jeff Daniels. I was, oh, okay, he knew Jeff Daniels. All right, cool. And so on, so on, so forth. Like they just make it work as that. Just that back and forth, and just to hear people just talk about him as a person. It's just simple stuff like that. Is just go a long way now because it felt very natural.
It did.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
So one thing though that I really did like, even though admittedly it took a while for me to get used to, was the style of it, right? Because at first I thought it was just going to be pure talking heads, but then you hear Christopher Reeve's voice, but then you learn it from from archival footage or interviews that he did after the accident, right? But then in between that, you would see clips of him on a hospital bed, right? And, especially kind of related to the condition that he had, right? And I was there like, okay, so did they do a documentary of him after, like back in 95 when the accident took place? And then you realize, oh no, it's actually a clip from a movie, I assume TV movie that he did, which was a remake of one of my favorite Hitchcock films, Rear Window. I was like, wait, they remake Rear Window? Why? You know what I mean? But all right, okay, Christopher Reeve is the star, and he playing the James Stewart character who was wheelchair bound. Okay, I get it, but all right, they real stress on the whole paraplegic stuff. That wasn't the original. I know that for sure. But because it was Reeve, it was pretty much Reeve's second, what should I say, boy, his second leg now, second leg of his career after what happened with the accident. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, right? Yeah, I did not know honestly that he was actually appearing in movies, or at least I assume they're TV films, right? I didn't know that. Also, did not know that he directed a film as well too. With one in particular with Glenn Close and Whoopi Goldberg. I didn't know that.
right.
I did not know that at all. Like I really was not following up like his movie career after the
I
accident.
don't know outside of his Superman career. I don't know anything like I never really follow his career because I know
me too.
he's a great actor. I ain't saying no, but the only movie I know about him is with him is with Morgan Freeman as a pimp. Right, and it's only because like it looked like Morgan Freeman really slapped the girl. It's like for real.
Oh, what movie was that again? By
I forget. It's slipped my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only movie I already know. With that, that's the only his career outside of Superman. I don't really know much of his career, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. So yeah, a majority of things that I saw here in this film, I did not even know. Right, I'm vaguely familiar with the activism stuff that he was doing over the years and whatnot.
Right.
I was reminded.
That's more popular with.
Yeah, I was reminded of
Street Smart is the name of the movie.
Street Smart. That's it. I think it was from '87. I think it was right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I was reminded of his Oscar appearance when he appeared at, I think it was the
Right. I
97
remember that.
Oscars.
I
I
remember
didn't
that.
see it live, unfortunately, but I do remember that moment happening, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
so there's that. There's the voiceover narration, and then there's also this great use of a Superman like statue, if you will, right? But the way how it's shown, it's in space, and I
Yeah.
love
Yeah. Yeah.
what they
Yeah. Yeah.
used to represent the cape. That was really nice as well, too, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they do certain things to the Superman image, right? And it reflects what Reeve was going through in his life, right? I thought that was really clever. I like how they do that, right? But it all comes together in this very nice, very heartfelt package. And I can't be mad with what it is I got here, right? I really learned a lot about the man. It was great hearing from his children as well. I think the one that you say might be in the Superman movie, I think is Will Reeve, if I'm not wrong.
Right. I
Okay,
think so. Yeah. Yeah.
that dude looks just like his
He
father. Like
looked
the
a lot
moment
like.
I
Yeah.
see
Look
him, I
how
was
it
like,
looked like.
wow,
Yeah.
almost splitting image of your father, but wow, like my God, right? But and I really enjoyed the flashback scenes, if you will, where they was talking about his history with theater,
Yeah.
and how he was off Broadway and then he just up and decided, hey, casting call for Superman, boom, I go in there, Dread. I
Right.
mean, I get to work
And yeah, they
alongside
talk about
Gene
right. They
Hackman
talk.
and Marlon Brando. Would I jump
Right.
in on that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also love how how his career skyrocketed, of course, because of that. I love how they show how he how he went in and was doing the flying stuff, of course,
Yes,
suspended. That was great.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was cool about it because they did that really well in terms of like, well, two things. They had some interesting casting. Like they told you backstory of how they were gonna do. They were gonna cast like some like I think they wanted to do well then Bruce Jenner and
Yes.
they wanted to do like other
They
people who
wanted
would
Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I like the joke
right, right, right.
was, well, oh gosh, the
Accent,
Austrian
yeah.
accent. Like, no.
Yeah, exactly, and
No.
all that kind of stuff. Like they little things, like, but the main thing, what made Reeve brilliant is just he did people does I think they talk about him doing Superman great, but he really did Clark well. That's what made it
Yes.
kind of brilliant. Like just he's the one who started the whole body language argument in terms of like why does he would not think it's Superman and Clark, right? I never buy it, to be honest, but I could understand why people might buy it, right? That kind of stuff. But the little things like him having to act on the wire or the wire work is
Yes.
particularly brilliant. And then they show like him trying out scenes, like the behind the scenes of him being really sweaty and little stuff like that. And it's great. It's great stuff too. Like it's
Yeah,
just like
some
a lot of this
some
footage
great
I either
factoids too.
forget. Yeah, exactly. A lot of this footage I either forgot was a thing or just like, oh yeah, right, I never see this before. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And it just comes together as a really solid, like just outing as a documentary, man.
Agreed. But for me, what really makes the show work though is the flow of it, right? Because
Yeah.
it doesn't just awkwardly cut back to the 70s and talk about his rise in becoming Superman, and then goes
Right.
back to the 90s and the 2000s. Though it just flows in a thematic level, right? So they will lead from one point and they'll go into the other, right? So like there's a moment where are they like, all right, so they mention his first wife, but we halfway into the show, how come they mention his second wife, Dina, right? Or should say,
Right.
sorry, well his first girlfriend, right? Because they never got married, even though they had 2 kids, right? But they never got married, right? That was this British modeling agent, right? Talent scout, whoever it is. I'm not too sure what her main role was, right? But whatever. And then as I was thinking about that, they just flow so smoothly into how he met Dina. I was like, what? Like how they do that? It's just thematically, just how they do it. So I love that they show us self-aware and saying, look, trust us. I know you're seeing a lot of things. You're hearing voiceover narration. You're seeing talking heads. You're seeing archival footage. We go in here, there, but trust me, we know what we're doing. And I felt like just the story that they were telling, and especially in terms of just going back and forth, that really worked for me, right? And it's really like Reeve, like Christopher Reeve himself, reflecting on these moments, and then you see other people reflecting on things, and just how it goes from back to forth. That really worked, right? And then of course how it ends, and yeah, just being reminded of when he passed away, or the day he passed away. Boy, that was rough to hear. But what really got to me, again, I don't want to spoil it, is what happened afterwards, right? So it's like oof. But how the children themselves have moved past that and are continuing on with his legacy in terms of just disability. Well, sorry, for rehabilitation and all these kind of things. Yeah, that is really inspirational to me. And at the end of the day, you could really like I wasn't like, even though I didn't really find myself completely inspired by it, right? But there are things about this show that you walk out like, yeah, you know, I mean, I could be a better person. I could be as great of a person as he
Yeah,
was, right?
yeah, exactly. He was one of those people I never really, you know, hated, like, or thought he was like ever pretentious as a celebrity. He always uses celebrity in reasonably good faith. These kind of things. Because most celebrities I always thought like, oh, you just in front of the camera to look good, blah blah blah. And you know, it might be part of the fact that he had skin in the game for the most part with respect to his actual disability, maybe. But it never felt like fake or pretentious or contrived in any sense at all. Always felt genuine, always felt authentic. He's one of those guys like that. But here's the thing, he was like that before the injury. Um, so that's why it never really make me think when you get his actual history or how he used to think about stuff and do things. It's like, no, he was a solid guy throughout and throughout, for honest.
Yeah, exactly. And I love
Right,
that there's actually a moment near the, somewhere in the film actually, where yeah, there was a point in time where he just felt like, you know, Superman is a character. Yes, okay, but
right,
I am not Superman, right? But you see,
right,
just throughout the years, where yeah, just kind of subconsciously the things that we associate Superman with, right? You know, the positive
right.
things we associate Superman with were
Yeah,
reflected
yeah.
in his life and career. I love that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
suppose. Yeah, I suppose he kind of parallels. I suppose a person closer to me with respect to him would be like what Leonard Nimoy is to Spock, right? It's like that. Leonard Nimoy in his own right is a great guy, and behind the scene, and he have a whole I am Spock, but also I am not Spock, and they do that really well with this. Like they really do that reflection because it does remind me of like Leonard Nimoy stuff
mm.
in that way. Is that?
Yeah,
That's what I was thinking about. Like the closest like
exactly.
reference point. Yeah,
Yeah, but for me, yeah, even though I didn't walk out of this film teary eyed and like, oh my god, why? You know what I
yeah,
mean? I
yeah, yeah,
wasn't like that. But I still felt the warmth though. I still felt the heart, I still felt the emotion of it though. And you really feel, you know, just how, you know, just the impact this man left, right? And the legacy that will continue on, right? You know, so yeah, I really, really felt this one, right? So for me, like four out of five stars, man. You know, I really enjoyed this one. But yeah, like you, this is gonna be an honorable mention for me. I don't see this as like but top favorite of the year, right? But I'll close this, right? I could kind of see this being like, I don't know if DC Studios could be dread enough to do this, but I could see this as a you know as a Oscar entry, you know, not so much as a nominee, but I think that
Okay,
DC Studios could kind of enter this like, yeah, we have a documentary. Look, it's about
right, yeah,
Christopher Reeve, you know. But if it get nominated, cool, you know what I mean? Great, lovely. I don't think it'll win if it does, but yeah, I think there will be a shoe in, you know, to get nominated, right? I
right.
guess we will see come next year. But yeah, if you are a Superman fan and if you just love the Christopher Reeve Superman, I know a lot of people still have him as the best Superman ever.
Listen,
And for me, it's one of
I
those things that I have to
still
sit
put
down
him very high.
and me too, me too. That's the thing. Like I have to
And
sit
yeah, he's
down
one of
and
those
rank them. So like, oh,
yeah, yeah.
with Batman, for example, I can rank them easy, right? But when
No,
it comes to
Batman,
Superman,
Batman is a different
yeah,
conceit, to be fair.
I
But
know
I think with Superman, it's real hard to like. 'Cause he is the template, full stop. Like
that's true. Yeah,
every version have him. You're still thinking of him now. You
yes,
reference him in some way. It had to be him. It's like he shaped the paradigm completely, like completely dominate the paradigm of what we think Superman should be.
exactly. And
Everybody borrowed from it
of
in
course,
some way.
the movie itself. I mean,
Yeah, and
just
that
one
first
of the
movie is
greatest.
still
Yeah.
goated. Yeah, still
Yes, it is
absolutely amazing. Yeah,
still goated in my
yeah,
opinion, right?
yeah.
Yeah, you know, so I love that. Even it celebrates that, it celebrates the man who was Superman, but also yeah after Superman, because yes, they do touch on the failures of 3 and 4. Because yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of hate 4 and 3, just felt kind of aimless to me. You know what I mean? although I kind of like the whole Clark Kent versus Superman kind of good versus
Right.
evil, it kind of
Oh, it's
fighting
Superman
that,
3,
that,
yeah,
that
yeah,
was kind of
that's
cool.
hilarious.
That's kind of cool,
Yeah,
but
this is let's call it fucking Richard Pryor was in
yeah,
that one.
Richard Pryor was in it because it was Richard Pryor.
Yeah, yeah,
Still to this day, as we wrap up, still to this day, that was still a weird decision to have him be in the film and then him in the poster too, because yeah, he's in the poster. And like every time I see that poster, I swear to God, I'm like, why? Why are you Richard Pryor? You know, much respect to you, RIP, but why are you in this poster? You come to see
yeah, wait.
Superman, not Richard Pryor, but just see.
No,
But
that movie was weird, and that movie
yeah.
invents something that a lot of people think is true, which is the whole shaving off sense thing to steal that Office Space do.
Oh, all right,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah, and 4 is just a mess. It's just
yeah.
a
It was
mess
a
in
mess.
my
It was
opinion.
no work at all.
My
Yeah,
God, it's just a mess, right? But anyway, but I
yeah,
like how they kind of touch very, very briefly on 4, well, sorry, 3 and 4, and why those things didn't work. I mean, sorry, even back then, Christopher Reeve called it sequelitis. He brought it up. He said it, sequelitis, right? Yeah, that's what happened, right? But at the end of the day, it's not to say that he's not Superman, right? Because to many people, especially for us who grew up on these movies, he will always be the definitive Superman, right? But I love that at the end of the day, the show it celebrates that, but it's really more about Christopher Reeve and who he is as a person, right? Both in front and behind the camera, right? So that's that. But if you're curious, if you're a Superman fan or a Christopher Reeve fan, whatever it is, still check it out, man. It's really worth checking out.